guys. How's it going? So right now I should be at work, but we actually lost power. There's a huge snowstorm, freezing rain, and I have no power. And I have my cellular tower is down, so I can't call anybody. I can't go on the internet because even my cellular service is down. So, hey, you're not gonna stay? I thought you were gonna stay here. I'm gonna read a book. This is Chi-Chi. I have 3 cats. She's super cute. Super skittish though, because she's a female, but she's very cuddly sometimes. That's my coffee. Have some coffee. Alright, so we're gonna basically read because I can't do anything else. So let's read a story. I just have cardboard here to burn. And the cat's like playing with this stuff. Chi-Chi. Oh yeah, we're not gonna play. Anyways. Okay. Oh, we're almost done. Okay. Ooh, it's all a little bit more warm over here. It's okay. Okay. Oh, I lost my spot. Oh crap. Yeah, I think it was here. Okay, the gunslinger didn't tell the boy all of this, but I forget where we were. But perhaps most of it came through anyway. He had already realized that this was an extremely perceptive boy, not so different from Alan, who was strong in that half empathy, half telepathy they called the touch. You asleep? The gunslinger asked. No. Did you understand what I told you? Understand it? The boy asked with surprising scorn. Understand it? Are you kidding? No. The gunslinger felt defensive. He had never told anyone about his coming of age before because he felt ambivalent about it. Of course the hawk... Oh yeah, I remember. Of course the hawk had been a perfectly acceptable weapon, yet it had been a trick too, and a betrayal. The first of many. And tell me, am I really preparing to throw this boy at the man in black? I understood it all, sir, the boy said. It was a game, wasn't it? Do grown men always have to play games? Does everything have to be an excuse for another kind of game? That's my sister's dog. I'm taking care of him today. He's very old. You okay, buddy? Sorry about that. You have to jump down? You okay? Okay. Don't know. Do any grown men grow up, or do they only come of age? You don't know everything, the gunslinger said, trying to hold his slow anger. You're just a boy. Sure, but I know what I am to you. And what is that? The gunslinger asked tightly. A poker chip. The gunslinger felt an urge to find a rock and brain the boy. Instead, he spoke calmly. Go to sleep. Boys need their sleep. And in his mind, he heard Martin's echo. Go and find your hand. He sat stiffly in the darkness, stunned with horror and terrified. for the first time in his existence, of the self-loathing that might come afterward. During the next period of walking, the railway angled closer to the underground river, and they came upon the slow mutants. Jake saw the first one and screamed aloud. The gunslinger's head, which had been fixed straight forward as he pumped the handcar, jerked to the right. There was a rotten jack-o'-lantern greenness below them, pulsating faintly. For the first time he became aware of an odor, faint, unpleasant, wet. The greenness was a face, what might be called a face, by one charitable bent. Above the flattened nose was a insectile note of eyes, peering at them expressionlessly. Gunslinger felt atavistic crawl in the intestines and privates. He stepped up the rhythm of the arms in the handcar handle slightly. The glowing face faded. What the hell was that? The boy asked, crawling to him. What? The words stopped dumb in his throat as they came upon then past a group of 3 faintly glowing forms standing between the rails and the invisible river, watching them motionless. They're slow mutants, the gunslinger said. I don't think they'll bother us. They're probably just as frightened of us as we are of. One of the forms broke free, shambled towards them, the face that was that of a starving idiot. The faint naked body had been transformed into a knotted mess of tentacular limbs and suckers. The boy screamed again and crowded against the gunslinger's leg like a frightened dog. One of the thing's tentacle arms pawed across the flat platform of the handcar. It reeked of the wet and the dark. The gunslinger let loose of the handle and drew. He put a bullet through the forehead of the starving idiot's face. It fell away, its faint swamp fire glow fading, an eclipsed moon. The gun flash lay bright and branded on their dark retinas, fading only reluctantly. The smell of expended powder was hot and savage and alien in this buried place. There were others, more of them. None moved against them overtly, but they were closing in on the tracks, a silent, hideous party of rubberneckers. You may have to pump for me, the gunslinger said. Can you? Yes, then be ready. The boy stood close to him, his body poised, his eyes took in slow mutants only as they passed, not traversing, not seeing more than they had to. The boy assumed a psychic bulge of terror, as if his very ID had somehow sprung out through his pores to form a shield. If he had the touch, the gunslinger reasoned that was not impossible. Gunslinger pumped steadily but did not increase his speed. The slow mutants could smell their terror. He knew that, but he doubted if terror alone would be enough to motivate them. He and the boy were, after all, creatures of the light and the whole. How they must hate us, he thought, and wondered if they had hated the man in black in the same way. He thought not, or perhaps he had passed among them only like the shadow of dark wing in the greater darkness. The boy made a noise in his throat, and the gunslinger turned his head almost casually. 4 of them were charging the handcar in a stumbling way, one of them in the process of finding a hand grip. The gunslinger let go of the handle and drew again. With the same sleepy, casual motion, he shot the lead mutant in the head. The mutant made a sighing, sobbing noise and began to grin. Its hands were limp and fish-like, dead. The fingers clove to one another like fingers of a glove, long immersed in drying mud. One of these corpse hands found the boy's foot and began to pull. The boy shrieked aloud in the granite womb. The gunslinger shot the mutant in the chest. It began to slobber through the grin. Jack was going off the side. The gunslinger caught one of his arms and was almost pulled off balance himself. The thing was surprisingly strong. The gunslinger put another bolt in the mutant's head. One eye went out like a candle. Still it pulled. They engaged in silent tug of war for Jake's jerking, wriggling body. The slow mutants yanked on him like a wishbone. The wish would undoubtedly be to dine. The handcar was slowing down. The others began to close in. The lame, the halt, the blind, perhaps they only looked for a Jesus to heal them, to raise them, Lazarus-like from the darkness. It's the end for the boy, the gunslinger thought with a perfect coldness. This is the end, he meant. Let go and pump or hold on and be buried. The end for the boy. He gave a tremendous yank on the boy's arm and shot the mutant in the belly. For one frozen moment, its grip drew even tighter, and Jake began to slide off the edge again. Then, the dead mud mitts loosened, and the slow mutie fell on its face behind the slowing handcar, still grinning. I thought you'd leave me, the boy was sobbing. I thought. Hold on to my belt, the gunslinger said. Hold on, just as tight as you can. The hand worked into his belt and clutched there. The boy was breathing in great convulsive silent gasps. The gunslinger began to pump steadily again, and the handcar picked up speed. Slow mutants fell back a step and watched them go with faces hardly human or pathetically so. Faces that generated the weak phosphorescence common to those weird deep-sea fishes that live under incredible black pressure. Faces that held no anger or hate, but only what seemed to be a semi-conscious idiot regret. They're thinning, the gunslinger said. The drawn-up muscle of his lower belly and privates relaxed the smallest bit. There, the slow mutants had put rocks across the tracks. The way was blocked. It had been a quick, poor job, perhaps the work of only a minute to clear, but they were stopped, and someone would have to get down and move them. The boy moaned and shuddered closer to the gunslinger. The gunslinger let go of the handle, and the handcar coasted noiselessly to the rocks, where it thumped to a rest. Slow mutants began to close in again, almost casually, almost as if they had been passing by, lost in a dream of darkness, and had found someone of whom to ask directions. A street corner congregation of damned beneath the ancient rock. Are they going to get us? The boy asked calmly. Never in life. Be quiet a second. He looked at the rocks. The mutants were weak, of course, and had not been able to drag any of the boulders to block their way, only small rocks. Only enough to stop them, to make someone get down, the gunslinger said. You'll have to move them, I'll cover you. No, the boy whispered, please. I can't give you a gun, and I can't move the rocks and shoot, too. You have to get down. Jake's eyes rolled terribly for a moment. His body shuddered in tune with the turnings of his mind. And then he wriggled over the side and began to throw rocks to the right and to the left, working with mad speed, not looking up. The gunslinger drew and waited. Two of them, lurching rather than walking, went for the boy with arms like dough. The guns did their work, stitching the darkness with red-white lances of light that pushed needles of pain into the gunslinger's eyes. The boy screamed and continued to throw rocks to either side, which glow leaped and danced. Hard to see now, that was the worst. Everything had gone to shadows and after images. One of them, glowing hardly at all, suddenly reached for the boy with rubber boogeyman arms. Eyes that ate up half the mutie's head rolled wetly. Jake screamed again and turned to struggle. The gunslinger fired without allowing himself to think before his spotty vision could betray his hands into a terrible quiver. The two heads were only inches apart. It was the mutie who fell. Jack threw rocks wildly. The mutants milled just outside the invisible line of trespass, closing a little at a time. now very close. Others had caught up, swelling their number. All right, the gunslinger said. Get on, quick. When the boy moved, the mutants came at them. Jake was over the side, scrambling to his feet. The gunslinger was ready, pumping again, all out. Both guns were holstered now. They must run. It was their only chance. Strange hands slapped the metal plane of the car's surface. The boy was holding his belt with both hands now, his face pressed tightly into the small of the gunslinger's back. A group of them ran onto the tracks, their faces full of that mindless, casual anticipation. The gunslinger was full of adrenaline. The car was flying along the tracks into the darkness. They struck the 4 or 5 pitiful hulks full force. They flew like rotten bananas struck from the stem. On and on into the soundless flying banshee darkness. After an age, the boy raised his face into the made wind, dreading and yet needing to know. The ghost of gun flashes still lingered on his retinas. There was nothing to see but the darkness and nothing to hear but the rumble of the river. They're gone, the boy said, suddenly fearing an end to the tracks in the darkness and the wounding crash as they jumped the rails and plunged to twisted ruin. He had ridden in cars. Once his humorless father had driven at 90 on the New Jersey Turnpike and had been stopped by a cop who ignored the 20 Elmer Chambers offered within a license and gave him a ticket anyway. But he had never ridden like this, with the wind and the blindness and the terrors behind and ahead, with the sound of the river like a chuckling voice. The voice of the man in black. The gunslinger's arms were pistons in a lunatic human factory. They're gone, the boy said timidly, the words ripped from his mouth by the wind. You can slow down now. We left them behind. But the gunslinger did not hear. They careened onward into the strange dark. They went on for 3 days without incident. Wow. Well, that was good. It's getting intense. A little bit weird descriptions, but yeah, very intense, very good. Anyways, hope you guys liked it. Please subscribe, it really helps, or just like or comment. Let me know if you like this, or if there's a certain book you want me to read, or if you want me to speak louder or less loud, or whatever, or have it closer. Anyway, hope you guys are doing well. Take care.